All right. Thank you for joining me for another week of Lunch Break Learning with Coach Shaquan. And I am so excited to have you all here. Our topic today, I believe it's called Are You Stuck in Your BS? Or is it time to check your BS? Whatever. We're talking about BS. And let me just go ahead and break it to you right now. We are talking about belief system. So for those that may be new and those that just may need another introduction, my name is Coach Shaquan and I study how people communicate, connect, and show up in personal and professional relationships. And using what I have learned in working with clients and personal experience and just the God-given gift. Yes, uh, I am able to walk clients through this process called Check Your BS, which we're going to talk about today, where BS stands for belief system or whatever has you stuck in a pattern of thinking or way of doing that does not allow you to move forward or push through or to let go of something or someone. And so we are recording live here. I got my community inside the break room, hey, via Zoom. If you want to join in afterwards, we stay on a little, have some reflection. They tell me about how their edges are rising or lost or however the thing may be. And we're also here live on Instagram. So thank you all for joining. If you're listening to the replay, the links are in the bios if you want to join us live. So let me tell you how this thing came about. And some of my stories may be repetitive, uh, they're truth. And I just be out here telling y'all what I know and what I've experienced. And so back in about 2014, I had been working with clients at the time and been kind of having this concept of belief system started kind of coming in my mind. And so as I was creating some curriculum or creating a blog post, uh, I heard the spirit dropped and said, check your BS. And I'm like, whoa, wait, what'd you say? Check your BS. And it was like belief system. And so I started Googling and looking up and like, what is this thing? And it came back to me in terms of what my favorite scripture is, which is Romans 12:2. And I'll give that to you here shortly. Romans 12:2, and it connected to belief system. And so once I started doing my research and really started learning, I started connecting the things I had learned in my certified coaching program about mindset and self-awareness and belief system. And I'm like, oh, so we can get stuck in this BS, this belief system, and it really takes us to believing things that aren't necessarily truth or things that we aren't really certain of. We run with them. And so I put all of this thing together and teaching it in a way that is impactful to clients. And I've had to tell people over the years, when I say check your BS, it's not just a cute tagline and it's, I do these snaps, right? All of that is cute and fancy. There's actually a framework to this thing. And um, if used correctly and consistently, you will be able to shift yourself from those draining, destructive, fear-based thoughts that we often experience that keep us stuck or keep us playing small or keep us in a place of hiding or uh, really kind of between this place of being humble and then being arrogant, right? And I've often found myself in that space. And if you can relate to that, give me a show of hands or say, Coach, that's relatable or that's my truth. Like, we are called to be humble, right? The word tells us be humble and not to brag and all of these things. And then yet you don't want to really tell your greatness and and really show yourself to be as brilliant sometimes because we don't know how people will accept us. Right. And so when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about how it looks from the bedroom to the boardroom and everywhere in between. So let's start from the beginning. I'm going to break this down for you. And this is, again, the framework that I teach clients. And so you all are getting a treat today because this is probably the first time that I've taught this in a public, if you will, space. So I always like to start off with really understanding energy. Energy is something that I believe in. I have checked it against what the word says, so we're not out of alignment here. God has given me the green light to say go and teach this thing, right? So a lot of people talk about energy. I'm here to teach you. So in terms of self-awareness, energy is everything you see, taste, touch, smell, and hear. Okay, those are your five senses that gives you a perception of what you like and dislike about people, places, things, and situations. And so we define it by two types. The first one is called anabolic. So anabolic energy. Anabolic energy is healing, constructive, and success focused. When you are feeling your best, when you're doing your best, when your body is not experiencing stress, it releases these anabolic hormones that really go through your body. And if y'all have ever felt good, like things turned out the way that you want them to, things turn out in a way that's very positive or successful, you are experiencing anabolic energy. And the more focus and the more creativity and the more optimistic and the more alignment and the more authentic happens when we're in this anabolic energy. Now, on the flip side, we got this thing called catabolic energy. And every week, every time I talk about it, I'm gonna be talking about the catabolic energy. Catabolic energy is draining, destructive, and fear-based. Okay. So when you are under stress, when things are out of alignment, you begin to feel the weight of the world on your shoulders. Your body says, okay, we got to do something to push through stress. And it actually releases chemicals throughout your body that eats away at your healthy cells. And so you aren't able to focus and you aren't able to be as productive. And you really find yourself in this place, which I describe as the box. It's a dark space. You go in the box, boom, lid shut tight. And now you are functioning within the dysfunction of your BS, right? And the dysfunction of your belief system. So really think about that and think about how often you find yourself in these places of draining, destructive, fear-based energy where you feel isolated or alone or lonely, when you feel like you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, or again, you are in a place of lack. When you feel like you have been the helper, healer, fixer to everybody, and yet when you lay your head down at night, there's no one there to help heal and fix you. When you feel like you've given your all and your all just is not appreciated, it's not accepted. We find ourselves in places of judgment, rejection. All of these are embedded in our belief system. Okay? So here's a journal prompt. How often, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, do you find yourself in a catabolic BS? Okay? In a catabolic belief system. On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest. And feel free again to put it in the chat if we're here in the break room via Zoom or as we are live here on Instagram. Scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest. How often are you finding yourself in that catabolic BS? I got my water. Y'all got your water? Because you know I'm going to tell you to drink your water. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What's interesting is that, and I said this before, sometimes we find ourselves functioning within the dysfunction of what life is giving us, that we don't even recognize that we're in a place of these draining, destructive, fear-based spaces. Some of this seems normal. Some of us have been going through this BS or this belief system that this is what we are supposed to do or something that we have to do in order to get things done. And so it's very possible that you could be stuck in your BS, right? The belief systems that you've created. Now, I'm talking about BS. So let me really define what that is, because belief system is a big thing. So when I talk about BS and when I talk about belief system, it is by definition this group of habitual thoughts, right? Things that you think about consistently or habitually, that you place your trust and confidence in, and then you accept the feelings that you get as good, bad, right, or wrong. Okay? Your belief system is a group of habitual thoughts that you place your trust and confidence in, and then you accept the feelings as good, bad, right, or wrong. Now, the interesting piece about belief system, again, we all have them. And your belief system was created or came from 3 sources. One of 3 sources, or all of them. The first one is what you were taught. The second one is what you experience. And the third one is what you assume. Okay? Your belief system comes from one of 3 sources, sometimes all 3 at the same time. What you were taught, what you experience, or what you assume. So the process, as I'm taking you through and really understanding this check your BS and how to do this process, right? The first thing you want to do is pay attention to the way it makes you feel. Oftentimes we are so unconscious of how we are thinking and what we are thinking, and we're only able to really identify how it makes us feel. So the first thing you want to do is to identify when you are going through, when things are just in when I say when life, or I think we all say this, when life be life, and because the devil be out here deviling more than eggs. Don't get yourself boiled, okay? All right. So when we're thinking about going through and how things are happening, does it feel like you are in an anabolic space, right? Healing, constructive, success focus, or more catabolic, draining, destructive, or fear based? So here's a journal prompt. Think about the situation, the problem, the challenge, something that you are in right now, something that you are working through, whether it be in the bedroom, so in your marriage or in your intimate relationships, or in the boardroom, in your job, because there's job and career. I got this thing, right? Some of us working a job, some of us got a career. There's no right, wrong, good, or bad, right? There's entrepreneurship, there's business owning, right? There's things that we are doing. There's a hobby, there's a hustle. What you doing? Okay. Is it catabolic or is it anabolic? And then when I say everywhere in between, that's life. That's simply you opening up your eyes every morning, right? And what are you stepping into? So think about that from a journal prompt. When I think about the current situation I'm in and how I'm working through, does it feel more anabolic or more catabolic? Okay. After you determine the type of energy that you are experiencing, then you say, okay, now it is time to check the belief system because I'm thinking of this and I'm doing it. I'm showing up in a way that may not be allowing me to reach the goal that I want to accomplish. And so as we're going through that, right, was this something I was taught? Is it something that I have experienced? Or is this something I assume? Okay. Is it something I was taught? Is it something that I've experienced? Or is it something that I have assumed? So let's talk about this. When we think about things that we were taught, we must go back to childhood. And I like to say, go back as early as you can remember. Think about this. I want you all to ask this, right? Um, or answer this. What's your earliest memory? Think about the age. Go back and let me know. What's the earliest memory you have in terms of your age? Me, 5 years old. Talk about it all the time. 5 years old. Well, how old were you when you can remember that first memory of life? Mm. I have someone here in the break room said 3 years old. Yeah, 3 years old. Going back to 3 years old. First memories. Now, think about something that you experienced in that time or something you were taught. Right? There was for me the belief system. There's a lot of my experience that happened in that, and I've shared this story, and I believe I shared it on our last episode when we were talking about the facts. Go back and check the facts. Okay, someone here on Instagram says about 4 years old. So really being in that space where we were young, and the things that have happened in our childhood, the things that we were taught, right? And understanding that whoever raised us, whether it were your parents or a guardian, or if it was a sibling, like they taught you things that created the belief system. And some of those things are showing up today. Some of them can be anabolic, some of them can be catabolic. I like to use the example of a woman who was taught early on by her mother, don't trust other women. You can't trust other women. Don't trust them around your man. Don't trust them with your business, right? And those things are embedded and then they shape how we are able to cultivate as women friendships as we get older. Because listen, friendships over 40 get a little tricky. Can y'all agree? Like friendships over 40 be a little tricky. Right? We've all gone through different stages of life. Some of us have started families early, some have started later in life. And so you find this place of disconnection that happens. And if the belief system, right, if someone taught you early on that you can't trust women, then it begins to happen that you don't trust women in your adult age. Okay. Or what about all men cheat? And I'm talking to my ladies here. All men cheat. Somewhere along the line, somebody told you, girl, all men cheat. So then we end up in relationship with men, right? Or women. Hey, whatever. We end up in intimate relationships. Let's just go there. And cheating and infidelity is okay. Right? It is okay to be disrespected. It is okay. This is how it's supposed to be. And then we have this misconstrued thing, right? What we were taught and what we experience and what we assume about what love is. And so now we find ourselves in unhealthy relationships and unable to really see the truth of who we are, the value that we bring, and our worth because of some BS that we learned many years ago. Right? We learned how to communicate through our BS. So really, who taught you how to communicate? Who really taught you that there's a timing and there's a tone and there's a truth and there's a transparency and that there's hot conversation, right? We find ourselves having arguments and being able and raising our voice and let's be clear, right? Raising your voice does not improve your argument. Come on, somebody. Because you yelling at me or you yelling at somebody, that'll make you right. But yet there is a belief system that the loudest person is the one that can control the conversation, or the loudest person makes it right. So we do these things and we show up from the belief system, right? The BS that we've created, not even recognizing that it is very catabolic, draining, destructive, and fear-based. Now, the part of the belief system that I like to focus on most often is the assumption. Because you know what they say, assuming makes a what out of yeah. Well, assuming is the lowest level of knowledge. And so just think about if you are assuming something without proof or without evidence, how that impacts how we are showing up in the bedroom, the boardroom, and everywhere in between. Okay. So there were times for me, without knowing, being very unconscious to my BS and the belief system that I had, that showed up in my marriage later on because I made assumptions about who I was supposed to be and what my husband needed and what he meant when he said this. And if he didn't say this, then he meant that. All of the assumptions. And it really impacted the way we were connected and the way we were moving forward on one accord in the marriage. And let's talk about in the corporate space, right? You can assume that somebody doesn't like you, that your manager doesn't like you, or when they say this type, like it's all of these assumptions that we begin to make, and we then take them as the truth or that it be true, and then we adjust ourselves and how we're showing up and how we're going to respond. And now you've got dysfunction within the relationship, all because your BS is stuck in a place that no longer, or a mindset or the belief system is stuck at a stage that no longer suits you or that no longer works for who you have become. So I ask again, do you believe everything that you think? Do you believe everything that you think? So when I ask people this question, they're like, no, I don't believe everything I think. Yet thoughts create feelings, feelings create emotions, emotions create actions. Let me say that again. Thoughts create feelings, feelings create emotions, and emotions create actions. So in essence, what you think becomes what you do. So you're not believing. You say, I don't believe everything I think, yet you play small. You think you're not good enough. You think you don't have enough. You overthink, you procrastinate, you resist, you do all of these things. And it's coming from off of these catabolic, these draining, destructive, fear-based thoughts. And so it is absolutely time for you to check your BS, check the belief systems that you've created, and see how they are aligned with what you are wanting to do, who you were created to be, the calling that you may not be willing to accept. Okay. I have a comment here on Instagram. It says, I'm definitely more aware to not assume at this season in my life. It takes growth. Absolutely. It takes growth. It takes practice. And then the comment says, sometimes I do, right? Sometimes when the question asks is, do you believe everything you think? And I can't say the word but because that was but if you believe it, understand and trust, we don't use the word but around here. So I'm going to rephrase that. Okay. Sometimes I do, yet, and I begun to question where the feeling is coming from before our response. That takes a mature mindset. And thank you for sharing that. That takes a very mature mindset to be able to pause and think, right? Take a pause and think and go through those steps. Wait, okay, what type of energy am I feeling? Okay, okay. So if this is anabolic, then I know that I am potentially in alignment with what God is calling me to do, or I am being obedient to what the next step is, or I am supposed to say this, and supposed can be a judgment. I am in position to say something or do something that is going to land or going to lead me to the outcome that I truly desire. Yet we get stuck in our BS, we get stuck in our belief system, and we're gonna run with the first thing we think without even paying attention. This is catabolic. This is draining, destructive, and fear-based. So if I think it, then I'm going to do something that is in alignment with the thoughts that I had. And if they're catabolic, then you're going to have a catabolic outcome. Is this making sense to y'all? Okay. The importance of checking the belief system, the group of habitual thoughts that you place your trust and confidence in, and then you use the feeling, right, to determine what's good, bad, right, or wrong. So when I created Check Your BS, and it's transformational, and there's some additional steps in here. So I'm highlighting a few of them now to give you just an overview of what that framework looks like. It is truly a process that helps you challenge what you think, check what you believe, and then you get to choose how you want to show up, again, from the bedroom to the boardroom and everywhere in between. See, somewhere along the lines, we've lost the truth of the matter, which is you always have a choice. Okay? You always have a choice. But yet we begin to sometimes feel hopeless, or we feel like we don't have a choice. And so we must settle for what's available or what's within reach. We got to stop with going after this low hanging fruit. Okay. Low hanging fruit. Check your BS. You are worthy of more. You have more to offer. And so when we go for what's easy and what's available just right here, you are cutting yourself short. You are playing small. You are denying yourself the right to be in a space that allows you to receive the blessings and the things that you're asking for. I say this often again. Some of the things you're asking for, you already have. The reason you don't understand it or you believe, right, your BS has told you that you don't have it is because you don't have the capacity to receive it. So yes, you always have a choice. And I've heard people say, coach, I'm stuck in this job. I don't like the job. It's not fulfilling. The people don't like I've been there. I understand. I understand. This my cousin tells me all the time. She say, honey, I overstand. Okay. I overstand how it feels to be in a place where you are being underemployed, right? Meaning that you are not able to work to your full potential, that you have to dumb yourself down in order to make someone else feel important or comfortable, or that people feel like they can say anything to you or do anything to you and you can't do nothing about it. Ma'am, sir, hello, you always have a choice. And the fact that you don't believe that you have a choice makes perfect sense why you are stuck in the BS and why the things that you are doing continuously return to be the same thing you started with. Okay. But I don't have a choice. No, you don't have to get up and go to work. You really don't. You could stay home. You really don't have to stay at that job. No, you don't. You have a choice. You really don't have to continue to argue and bring up old stuff and old conversations. Like you don't have to do those things. You always have a choice. And checking the belief system and the BS that you've created about such said choice matters. Thoughts create feelings, feelings create emotions, emotions create actions. What you think becomes what you do. So I want you to think about it. Okay? Think about it for a moment. Journal prompt. What are some of the lies that I believe about my life and relationship? What are some of the lies that I believe about my life and my relationship? You say lies, coach. Now, when you say lies, what you mean? You mean because I'm not a liar. You're a liar. We're all liars. Not good enough, not smart enough, don't have enough. It's not time. I'm not ready. I need more. I need more education. I need more training. Apply for the job. Apply for the position. It's on your mind. It's the same thing that keeps you up at 2 a.m. Okay? The same thing that keeps you up at 2 a.m. every single night. How many of y'all got trouble sleeping at night? Let me know. Okay. Do you have trouble sleeping at night? Does your mind race at night? Do you find yourself repeating the same things over and over? Maybe about a conversation you had or something you did, wishing you had done something different, wishing that you had done something better. I do it too. Yeah, we'll come out on social media. We'll dress ourselves up for the gram. We'll say all of these things. We put up these quotes. We have these scriptures. We do all of these things. And at night, you've been up all night repeating the same things over and over and over to yourself. They're lies. So, what are the lies that you continuously or you have been consistently telling yourself? Okay, so I got to get at the time of this recording, your girl is on week 100 of her working out training. Okay, so how I started, I was walking up the stairs. This is a couple years ago. I guess if I'm on week 100, then you can tell, like, okay, about 2 years in. I was walking up the stairs and I live in a ranch. Halfway up, your girl got tired. Okay, like I was tired, like had to lean over and was like, whew. And I was like, I can't have this for my life. Yet I had created a BS, a belief system about my body that it would never change. And I asked my husband several times. I was like, "You sure I can't lay on that table? You sure?" He was like, "I tell you what, if you get consistent and you get serious about your working out, about your eating, about your drinking water, about your whole your health and your wellness, if you get serious about that and you do everything you can in that little pouch, the little memory of the kids, or as my youngest son used to have me saved in his phone as my 9-month hotel. Cause why? Huh? Okay. So yeah, so I guess he left some of his belongings because the hotel was still it looked like it had an occupant in it. So yeah, I'm like, what? I can't lose my stomach. Like, I can never do this. I'm going to have surgery. He was like, okay, so I want you to go through and I want you to do everything that you can do. And if at that time you've done everything and you've been consistent and you can be honest with yourself to say, hey, that little pooch ain't going nowhere. What they call it, the fupa, they still call it there. I don't know. It's just here. It's just us. Okay. We in this thing together. So after I began to work out, I realized that it was so much more. I was so focused on that and I assumed, right, my BS was stuck. And it created a very draining, destructive, fear-based image of myself that I had body shame and didn't even know it. Okay. I didn't even know. Because for me, I'm an upbeat person. I'm a positive person. I what I used to watch, I'm a really good person. I really am. I'm a good person. Okay. So in my mind, there can't be anything that I'm insecure about. Because mind you, the things that we're most insecure about, other people see as our courage and our strength, right? They see as our strong suit. That's why them people be coming after you. You want to be the strong friend. You don't or you do. Yet you position yourself to be strong because you don't want anyone to know that you actually are suffering or you're struggling. So when we begin to check our BS, right? And I'm going to get back on track here. When we begin to go through that process of checking the belief systems that we've created, we must be mindful of what we're telling other people or the perception that we're giving other people about us that we are unable to truly accept and live up for ourselves. So don't assume that someone is only going to accept you, or don't assume that someone will reject you, or don't assume that someone is judging you because really the things that you think about yourself, you think other people are thinking these things about you, they're truly a reflection of the thought process that you have about yourself. Okay? Mm, yeah. Yeah, think about that. Checking the belief system is really going through. Again, we started from the beginning. Hey, what kind of energy is this? I'm feeling something, right? I'm feeling something. I'm feeling something. Okay, so is this catabolic or anabolic? Let's just say we're on the catabolic side. This feels draining, destructive, and fear-based. Okay. All right, so check the belief system. So I'm creating a belief system because I know that thoughts create feelings, feelings create emotions, emotions create actions. What I think becomes what I do. And because I know that, I got to pay attention to the way it makes me feel so that I can trace it back to the thought, because we become so unconscious of the things that we're doing, or the things that we're thinking, I should say, because they become habitual. Checking the belief system. Where did this come from? Was it something I was taught? Is it something that I've experienced? And there's something that I assume. Where is this coming from? So the next step in this thing, after you have determined, right, the type of energy it is, the source of your BS, the next one we look at is to understand the difference between true and truth. I like to capitalize my tree. Okay, my tree. I like to capitalize my T in truth. And so again, these are mindset tools and self-awareness strategies. So everything is not inclusive to everyone, and everything ain't for everybody. So I want you to think about what resonates most with you, okay? And take what you need and leave the rest. So when we think about a thing that is true, true can change, right? What is true today may not be true tomorrow. Listen, 100 weeks ago, it was true that this little belly wasn't going nowhere, but baby, I got tank tops on deck. You know, my courage said it ain't time yet, but but I gotta check my BS on that, because that's my fear kicking in. That's saying, "Girl, don't do that." But I might do that. So y'all just be waiting. Okay. I mean, you ain't got to wait on it, because I'm going to do it with or without you. But truth can change. Okay. So some of the things that you thought about yourself in the past, or some of the behaviors and the patterns and the things that you thought and the way that you did things, those things are true. They can change. Right. The way that you used to do things may have worked for you back then. Right. There's a book that says what got you here won't get you there. Great book. Excellent read. Okay. So the second thing about true is based on experience. Okay. So something is true because you experienced it. And so we must be mindful of not challenging people or having people challenge us on our experiences, because your experiences belong to you. No one can take those away from you. Well, we must be mindful not to let our experiences be the catalyst or be the foundation for how we experience the next level. You do not have to fall victim to your circumstances. And be mindful that there are some things that happen to you, and there are some things that happen for you. Okay? Let me say that one again. There are things that happen to you, and there are things that happen for you. And so there is value in looking for the lesson in those things and saying, are these things true? Can they change? This was based off of an experience that does not define me. It is actually helping to develop me into someone new. And then true is who you think you are. And I've talked about this time and time again. If you think you're not good enough, if you think you're not smart enough, if you think that there is any lack, that's exactly who you're going to be. And in essence, that becomes an imposter, because that is not who God created you to be, nor who he is calling you to be. And the way that you are being called to serve, whether it be in the bedroom, the boardroom, or everywhere in between, it must be in alignment with who God created you to be. So on the flip side of that, we talk about truth, truth with a capital T. Truth cannot change. Truth cannot change. When we're talking about in a spiritual sense, and I don't know what y'all believe, but as for me and the humans in my house, even the dog, we serve the Lord. Okay. And so when we're in that place of being in truth, we are really focusing on the truth of who God says we are. And the word tells us, it's very specific, it's very outlined. It can be interpreted different. That truth does not change. And so the truth exists regardless to what you believe. And some people have a difficult time really grasping on that. And so even when we're in a space of this political season that we're in, and people are, that didn't happen, and no, 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 no. Okay, that's the truth. Regardless of what you believe, it is the truth. Okay. And then the third one again is who you are. Truth is who you are. I love to say that truth is where your heart and your mind meet to be in the will of God. Okay. Truth is where your heart and your mind meet to be in the will of God. So when we're in that place of truth, truth also exposes you. And so often we don't want to be in that place of truth. Yet when you are able to check the belief systems that you've created, you recognize that when you are in that place of truth, you are also covered by the armor of God. Because see, they talked about Jesus, they judged him, they spit like they did all these things, so they damn sure gonna do it to you. So you are not exempt from other people's judgment and other people's cruelty and other people's perception of you. It is important that you are in a place of truth, and so that you can honor who you are, what you do, who you serve, and why. Again, when we're talking about in the bedroom, we're talking about what's happening in your marriage. See, a lot of people, I did marriage counseling in the beginning. I'm sitting down with couples and I love my couples. If y'all can hear me, if you're listening to the replay, I love y'all. What I learned was we got to separate this thing out, because until you are able to really work on yourself and really change the perception of how you see yourself and consider how you are showing up, okay, and what you are contributing to either the success or the chaos within your marriage and in your relationships, then you wanting the other person to change because it would be easier for you, you're going to repeat that same BS and that same cycle of draining, destructive, fear-based energy, and you will be able to you will not be able to connect, right? And be compatible and to be in a place of love and joy and peace and happiness, those things that we truly desire at the core. They are available to us. We must check the belief systems about if we're worthy of it, if it's available, and what you can do to access it. So here's another journal prompt. We're going to wrap this up because I'm pretty sure I'm over my little 30 minutes. Thank y'all for staying with me. Okay. And I want you to make a column. And on one side, it says people, things, and situations I can change. And then on the other side, it will say people, things, situations I cannot change. See, we got this real bad habit of micromanaging God, right? We want things and people to be easy for us so we don't have to go through. Well, here's the thing, you can't get over it. Getting over it is a very catabolic process, right? It takes a lot of effort with little outcome because you're trying. If we can really identify the things, the people, things, and situations I can change, which more than likely is going to be self, right? The things that you cannot change, that you begin to accept and you begin to work around it in a way that you are able to, again, show up most authentic and rid yourself of some of those lies that you've told yourself that has you stuck. Okay. So again, this is a snapshot of what I work with and how I work with, or what I do in the framework of check your BS. First step, we got to check the energy. Second step, we got to check the source. And then that third step is we got to identify it as being true or truth. Be mindful not to get yourself stuck in your facts. Y'all remember last episode? Facts, false acceptance of certain temporary situations. Be mindful of that, because we will get stuck in those facts and then we get stuck in our BS. And then we find ourselves in a place, again, of isolation, of loneliness, of self-doubt, of worry, anxiety, overwhelmment, those things that are not who God says we are, and not what we can contribute to the success of our relationships, again, from the bedroom to the boardroom and everywhere in between. If you feel so inclined and you choose to, I love breathing. Right? Breathing is part of that process too. Do you know when you inhale, you are inhaling more access to this anabolic energy. And when you exhale, you are releasing yourself of catabolic energy. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath in and let it out. And deep breath in and let it out. And let's do one more. Deep breath in and let it out. The last thing I want to say is in a foundational principle, and where this really came from was truly off of my favorite scripture, which is Romans 12:2. Now, there's a couple, of course, different versions in how we say it. I say, I think this is NLT, where it says, do not copy the patterns and behaviors of this world. Instead, let God transform you by changing the way you think. Check your BS. Okay. He said, okay, Shaquan, I want you to teach it different because the people don't be believing my words sometimes. So we're going to have it in a real down to earth type of thing. So he says, let me transform you by changing the way you think. Then you will know what is pleasing and perfect to me. And I ad-lib that, but that's the way that I receive it. And I truly believe that transformation is what God is asking us to do. Because see, y'all can come on here and I can motivate you, I can inspire you, and then you go back and you find yourself in your little catabolic energy, and then all the things coach don't understand. She ain't never experienced this too hard, right? Everything is hard to do until you learn how to do it. So I encourage you to really think about this and think about that process of checking your BS, checking the belief systems that you created. Challenge what you think, check what you believe, and you get to choose how you want to show up from the bedroom to the boardroom and everywhere in between. I am living and walking proof. It works. So I'm going to go ahead and end this. Thank you all for joining me. Again, if you're in the break room on Zoom, you know how we do. We spend a little extra time. I'm going to make sure y'all get back to work on time now, okay? But thank you for spending this time to take a break from work to work on you. Instagram, I'll be with you in a second. But we're going to end this. We'll see you for the next episode of Lunch Break Learning with Coach Shaquan.